Good evening, everybody. This is Mark Bunzel. I'm your host tonight for Seattle Boat Show Live. Welcome to a Thursday night, and we're going to have a lot of fun. You may be wondering what happened to Peter Schrappen. Well, he's double dipping tonight, as they say. He's making a presentation as we speak for the Port of Anacortes Port Commissioners meeting, and he promises me he's going to be joining us a little later on. And so we'll see, and if not, we'll continue on with him. And tonight we've got a great show lined up for you. Leonard and Lorena Landon are also taking the night off. It's Thanksgiving week, so I think Lorena's preparing for Thanksgiving dinner, probably a very small affair, seeing they'll be COVID observing. And hopefully all of you will also with your families and however you elect to get together for Thanksgiving. We're going to be smoking a turkey at my house. My son loves his brand new smoker and he's going to be doing that. But anyway, for tonight, we've got John and Amanda Neal a little later on after our announcements from Mahina Expeditions. And we're going to learn all about their program, and they're going to take us a little bit of where they sail around the world. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'll talk a little bit more about them in a few minutes. Our sponsors for tonight, we've got two of them. Jean Grossbeck and Associates Realty is again providing sponsorship for our program, and she's in Anacortes, and just wonderful waterfront, water view, docks, property, and very knowledgeable. And Jean and her husband Paul are boaters also. They're out there every summer with their boat. And Jean is also a very avid fisherman. I found out one time, and her favorite place to fish is up at Dent Island Lodge. They know her as the salmon slayer up there, and that's true story, up on the leaderboard. She's up for that. So before we, and our other sponsor tonight is one near and dear to my heart. I have the vest on, the Wagner Cruising Guide. We're that time of year, we're going to be promoting the 2021 Wagner Cruising Guide. I just got the report from the printer. They printed it this week. It's now going into being spiral bound, and they actually will be doing that over the next couple of days, and then it'll be on its way to us. So I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. Before we get in and meet our special guest, just a few announcements of what's going on in the area. Some of this is a little bit of a repeat, but worth mentioning. So for example, the Des Moines Marina is closed. They're doing emergency dredging on the entrance channel. So the marina is closed for the next week. They expect to get this done within the week. And I would recommend looking at the Airtable on the Wagner Guide website to determine the status, whether it's open or not. And you can also look, of course, on the Des Moines Marina website. But for those of you who will be going around and looking to purchase their economical fuel, City of Des Moines Marina is known as some of the least expensive fuel in the entire Puget Sound area. And they pull in a lot of people because of that. And it usually is very, very good pricing on the fuel there. Other things that are going on, I think everybody knows now the Seattle Boat Show is moved to Seattle Boat Show Connect. We're going to be, when we come back after the Thanksgiving holiday, we'll be giving more of a preview and more information about the show and how that's going to look. Some of us exhibitors and presenters have been getting previews of it, and it really looks exciting. It's going to be different. It's going to be January 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st, 4 days only. And it'll be all online. You'll be able to walk the show online in 3D. It should be very interesting. And we are putting together just an incredible seminar program, about 200 seminars. Boat Show University, which I run and coordinate, will have about 15 top presenters like Nigel Calder and John and Amanda Neal, who are our guests today, as well as Leonard and Lorena Landon and Michael Beamer, and quite a few others that many of you have seen at previous boat shows and asked us to come back again and again. We'll be talking about maintenance issues of how to maintain your boat or troubleshoot your boat, and also how to go to some of the great places that you can cruise to in this area. And we're going to keep our fingers crossed. The other status that we typically give is an update on the border. And right now, with the situation going on, with the numbers going up in both Canada and the US, the border remains closed. We have no dates as to when it might be open. And I think both sides have pretty well said it's safe to say that we're not going to see the border open until our numbers start to go down in the US, and I think till they see some numbers going down in Canada. So no new news there, but we'll be watching it carefully as we go. So that's about it in terms of the updates and announcements, and we'll keep you advised on this. There's still plenty of good boating out there. We had a little wind, a lot of wind during the last week, and I don't know if any of you were out boating over the weekend. If you were, throw us a note on the chat line. And for those of you not familiar with that, in the menu bar at the bottom of your screen, there is a function for chat, and you can type in a little chat, and then we'll bring it up. It can be a question to our presenters for tonight, a question for me or for the Seattle Boat Show. Anything on your mind, put it in there, and we'll touch on it. So that's about it for the introduction. And John and Amanda, why don't you come on, and I'm going to introduce you. John, you might know John and Amanda Neal from the Boat Show. Hopefully you've seen one of their presentations over the years. They're a fixture there, and I say that with all due respect because they do phenomenal series of seminars. And this year they'll be, and they'll talk about this a little bit, presenting as part of the Seattle Boat Show University. They'll be doing the longer format programs, 2-hour classes. And they'll be talking, well, I'll let them tell you a little bit about what they were talking about. John and Amanda, welcome to the show. Say hello.
Hello, aloha.
That would be awfully nice, thinking about Hawaii right now. My son's over there, and I'm envious. John and Amanda, I'm going to introduce you slightly, but I'd love for you to fill in the gaps with this, because when I talk to the two of you, you are real legends for this area, known globally about boating. And you've cruised, I think, more than anybody, almost anybody else on the planet. Have you met anybody who's cruised more than the two of you have?
Not yet, but they might be out there.
So I like to say you've gone around the world 2 or 3 times. Is that a true statement too?
Well, it would be, if you add it all up, it's 14 times. Our total offshore mileage is the equivalent of halfway to the moon and halfway back. We're 14 times around the world.
Wow, that is incredible. And John, you started very early in a very modest boat. Well, tell everybody how you got going with this.
Well, I grew up sailing, water skiing and sailing dinghies around the Seattle area. And then I bought a 27-foot Alban Vega on Lake Union and sailed that boat a total of, I think, 24,000 miles. Sailed it through the South Pacific and back, and I had no money. I was supporting myself by writing monthly articles for a magazine called Cast Off that predated 48 North, and had a fabulous time. I fell in love on just about every South Sea island that I sailed to, and came back and was totally penniless. And I turned the articles into a book, and the book came out the opening day of the Seattle Boat Show in 1976. And Seattle Times did a story on it, and the book became a bestseller. It sold 33,000 copies worldwide. Book of the Month Club picked it up. And I was totally ruined for regular life or regular jobs at 20. I guess I was 24 when I came back to Seattle, and and here's the
Then I can't see that. Having some technical problems here, but here we go. Just trying to pull John up in some pictures of when he was younger here, but
I had more hair then, Mark.
Yeah, you did. Both of us did back in 76. I
Yeah,
actually had long hair then, I think.
yeah, I had a ponytail. There's Log of the Mahina, the book that I self-published, printed in Snohomish, Washington, and it's still available on Amazon 45 years later, something like that.
That is
But
amazing.
after the book came out, I spent the next 2 years just going around to yacht clubs and boat shows and doing free slideshows and selling my book for $4.95. And then some people from Portland said, you ought to put this into a package because everyone wants to know how to do it on their own, and you should do seminars. And so the first of now 180 offshore cruising seminars was at Clark's Big Top Restaurant at Northgate in 1977. And since then, we've done seminars around the world, 1 day and 2 day seminars, frequently at and hosted by boat shows.
So here's a question for you. You've inspired many people, and then you've gone the next step, not just inspiring them, telling them and writing about it, but also turning around and doing the seminar and showing them how to do it, and even taking them to sea and giving them their first taste of blue water. How many people have you launched, do you think? Have you ever done a count of this?
Around 10,000, something like that, over the past 45 years. The expeditions came out of people from the seminars saying, this is all great in the classroom for a day, but we really want to go with you, sail with you, and show us this stuff hands-on. And with a 27 and then 31-foot boat, that was impossible. So the idea came up of buying a boat specifically to do training on. And that boat, that was 1989, and I purchased what became Mahina Tiari in Long Beach, trucked her to Seattle, and then we sailed that boat 70,000 miles, 6 times around Cape Horn to Antarctica and back, and then sold it in Seattle. And it's, I think it's in Portland now. But that was just the launch. And then while we were in Antarctica, we ordered Mahina Tiari 3, which is the boat we have but can't get to. It's a Halbergrass C46, and it's in New Zealand under pretty strict COVID lockdown right now. But we've sailed our current boat, Mahina Tiari 3, 230,000 miles. We've sailed it to the edge of the ice at the North Pole and to the edge of the ice in, well, no, that was the old boat in Antarctica. But we've had lots of great adventures. Our most recent one was we sailed for the 3rd time up to Svalbard, which is above Norway and Russia, and then from there to the edge of the ice, and then to Iceland and the Faroe Islands, and then to Africa, the Mediterranean, Africa, and then back to Australia and New Zealand. But we've had lots of amazing adventures. We've had fascinating people join us from all over the world, and yeah, it's just been a great life. And we're just getting ready to wind that up. 2023, we'll sail the boat back to the Northwest and sell it, and that will be our 34th season of doing sail training around the world.
And the sail training is a fantastic program. I have a lot of friends that have done it, and I hope to do it before you retire. I guess I better reserve a spot now that it's winding down. Explain how it works. How much does it cost? And your crew goes to a strange city of the world and hopes that you're there and jumps on the boat and they go. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And so we have a schedule. It's on our website, just mahina.com. We schedule out 3 to 5 years ahead, and legs are between 7 and our longest is 21 days. And we're there in the port of arrival, and the people join us and we sail to the next country. Sometimes we'll sail 3 or 4 countries during one expedition. So you get on in one country, leave in another. And Norway, this image Amanda just popped up is from Norway, and it's one of our very favorite countries in the world to visit.
And how much does this cost roughly? I mean, can I afford it being a book publisher and writer?
Our least expensive expedition, I think, is $3,000. And the most expensive, which is 3 weeks in the Roaring 40s, sailing from New Zealand toward Cape Horn, and then making a left turn and ending in Tahiti. That is really expensive. That's, I think, $8,000.
That's still not bad. That's still very economical. Not exactly a cruise ship, though. You've got everybody working, don't you?
Yeah, everybody working. We don't use the autopilot, hand steering 24 hours a day. And then we have class every day for 2 to 6 hours, hands-on. It includes going up the mast to check the rigging. We have a sewing machine on board. Amanda used to be a sailmaker and a rigger. And so we just go through all the skills that someone would need to safely sail their own boat around the world. And it's kind of like fire hose education, because we have so many topics that we've honed over the last 31 years. And we have 250-page and 104-page course syllabuses that go with the expedition. So everything, oh, there they are. Yeah, so we have our offshore companion, which is from our all-day seminars, and then the expedition companion, which is specifically for the hands-on, but we teach from both of those.
It's amazing, and what an experience. I have to share, I have had to get in contact with John at different times, and I'll send him an email, and I never know when he's going to quite pick it up, but because of satellite communications, John will pick it up, and I'll inevitably ask, John, where are you? And he'll say, well, I'm doing the midnight watch somewhere out in the South Pacific. There's stars all over, phosphorescence in the water, and the water is just calm and beautiful with a great wind, and I'm just having a ball. You're just a regular commercial for this.
Well, I answer emails in the middle of the night because either Amanda or I are always on watch. We always have 2 people on watch, and then one of us as well. And so in the midnight to 4 era, I am frequently at the chart table, checking the radar and answering email and looking at weather forecasts and just planning the next landfall, making sure everything is in order for customs, pre-notification, etc.
That's fantastic. And Amanda, I'm going to put you on the spot for a moment, because way back when I met you, I can't even remember, it was so long ago. But anyway, you told me the story of how you got started. And let's see if I have this right. You can deny it. I believe you told me that you were working in a coffee shop somewhere, might have been Vancouver, and John stopped in, and you guys got to chatting, and he told you about what he was doing and this and that, and you mentioned to him that you had grown up cruising with your parents on a boat, and before the end of the conversation he said, well, I'm leaving tomorrow. If you want to go, why don't you join us? Now,
yeah, I invited myself, actually. When I realized he was heading for Antarctica, I was very keen. And I didn't let all my cats out of the bag. Actually, Mark, I found an article that I should share with you, and I'll just bring that up here. Here we go. This is New Zealand travelers spend Christmas in White Rock. So this is all for you Canadians, over the border. I think they've restored the pier now, but so this would have been the winter of 1980. So we built that sailboat that's on the right, that's called Swan Haven 2, as our second offshore boat. And we sailed that from New Zealand with our cat, Siamese cat.
That's your mom and dad then in the picture, right?
That's my mom and dad and my younger brother and me, yes.
They look so young.
They do. Well, it was 1980.
Mom and dad look like kids.
I was so thrilled that Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall was the hit song on the hit parade, and Mount St. Helens had blown that year, so there was dust all over Washington state, but we had been kicked out of the US. So
overstayed their visas, working illegally.
So we sailed up the coast in November, arrived in Victoria on my brother's birthday, which is November 25th. And customs were going to confiscate all our canned spaghetti from New Zealand. They thought we were importing goods, varnished cans from New Zealand. Anyway, long story. We had to convince them, please take our canned spaghetti and baked beans. But they'd been on board for a while. So we spent the winter at the end of White Rock Pier and put out crab pots and invited anyone aboard for clam chowder.
That's fantastic. So you jumped later on, you met John. Next day, you invited yourself on board. You're off on this cruise.
He'd asked if I'd sailed, and I didn't say I'd sailed much. I said a little bit. I said I knew where Friday Harbor was. I didn't actually say I'd sailed to Friday Harbor.
First thing she said is, where are you from in the States? And I said, well, you would have never heard of it, a little island near Victoria. And she said, well, try me. And I said, from San Juan Island. She said, oh, I've been there. It's like, what? Nobody in New Zealand even knows where San Juan Island is, much less has been there.
Right. So after White Rock, we came down through the San Juans in spring, and we lived on the lake,
On
Lake Union. Yeah. What was that Marina?
Tillicum Marina.
Tillicum Marina. Yes, and we Dad worked illegally on boats. So it was a great summer. I picked up kites out of the water because I had our sailing dinghy. So I would go and rescue the kites from Gasworks Park, and people would give me money, reward money, or I'd get to keep the kite if I really liked it, one or the other. But yes.
Hi, Niels. It's Peter Schrapp, and it's nice to meet you. I get to co-host this lovely adventure every week.
There's Peter.
Yep. How you doing?
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Is everything okay in Anacortes?
It was great. We got their unanimous support on this charter boat issue, so I felt a mission accomplished there, and I'm delighted to be able to join you on tonight's activity. So yeah, I know you've all been waiting for me to get online, right?
Well,
Yes.
we're saving the tough questions for you. So,
Excellent.
so where's the point where the two of you then, and I have to tell you, inviting guests on board, whether they're paying or not, is a bold proposition, especially when you're going to be introducing them to their first, in many cases, blue water cruising. And you're having to deal with seasickness, with all their fears, and they're your crew. How did that go in the beginning?
It's gone really well.
Well, for me, it was a delight because I'd just stepped off a race boat from racing around the world with 12 women. So to step on a boat with just 6 people was a breeze. So for me, it was delightful. Even when I was cruising with my family, we're always kind of dysfunctional. So anytime there was someone extra on board, we always behaved a little nicely. So when I realized that John was heading for Antarctica and I'd seen all the mistakes my parents had made cruising, and it was nice to share that and to have people on board who want to learn fast and bring themselves up to speed and not make the mistakes that I made.
You were a great instructor right from the beginning.
We work as a team. John's definitely a captain, and there's always a support network behind the captain. So we make decisions ourselves. But
Jointly.
Crew are also fantastic. All the expedition members are really keen to learn. And even with COVID, we've been running expeditions here in the Pacific Northwest, and it's the first time we've sailed these waters since I was 16.
Since I was 22.
So our crew have sailed more, I think, here because they all have boats in Seattle, and we were desperate to have adventures this summer. And next season, it looks like we're doing the same.
I applaud you for being so innovative to take your program that was sailing around the world. COVID hit, and so you changed it to sailing out of Bellingham. And you still do a blue water experience with that. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, we go as far as we can. So we've stretched. We did four 7-day expeditions, Bellingham to Bellingham, out past Neah Bay into the ocean on Misty, a Jeanneau 45.1 that San Juan Sailing has. That worked incredibly well. It was easier, and it was a hoot. It was a great time. We had super crew expedition members. And in fact, even Margaret Palmer is in this picture. She's a pretty famous sailing instructor in the Pacific Northwest. And she came aboard, even though she's an instructor evaluator, she came aboard for the experience and to learn from us, which was a huge honor.
Well, I can't say enough good things about Margaret. She's my my crewmate, co-captain, whatever, when I take my groups up to Alaska. And
That woman she is
I
so
trust my life with Margaret.
Yeah, she's just really an excellent instructor. We learn from her as well. But on every expedition, we're teaching celestial navigation. We have a sextant on board. We start with paper charts. I know you guys are all into electronics, but we think it's really important to have the base knowledge of paper charts. And so we're always using at least 4 different navigation techniques whenever the boat is moving. And we enjoy introducing our students to as many different forms of navigation. I'm a pilot, and it just comes from backup for the backup for the backup. It might seem kind of silly, but we really want to always know exactly where we are and where the dangers are.
I'm trying to count 4, and I keep hitting on Loran and then saying, no, 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 it can't be Loran. So the 4 would be paper charts, celestial, dead reckoning, and GPS.
Well, we're using paper charts. We're using the chart plotter that comes with the boat, and it was a Garmin on the Jeannot, and on the Garcia Exploration 45, it's Brooks and Gatehouse. So we're using that. Plus I have a laptop that we're running Rose Point Coastal Explorer on. Plus I have a phone that I'm running Navionics on. So we have, those are the 4.
That's fantastic.
Well, Mark, the really interesting thing is not so much here in the Pacific Northwest, but in the rest of the world, one of those platforms will completely miss a danger or even an island. It just doesn't exist, but never will 2 or 3 of the platforms completely miss the same danger. And we have some really great examples of very, very recent shipwrecks of large ships on reefs that don't, and then we've sent the pictures to CMAP, for example, and said, hey, you guys missed this. Here's a picture of the ship on the reef, and here's the Navionics chart showing that reef. And so it's just interesting using multiple platforms because you find charting errors that don't show up on one, will show up on another.
Yeah,
I have a traveling question.
Excellent point.
So since you both love to travel, I think about this question a lot. How do you decide between going back to a place that you love so much versus going to a new place?
We try and do both, Peter. And so the reason that we went back for the 3rd time to Spitsbergen above Russia and Norway was because we really loved the wildlife and the islands there, but also so we could get to go to Jan Mayen, which is a tiny Australian volcano that has a Met service or a weather station on it, and we wanted to go to Iceland and to the Faroes. And so we keep going back to the same places. We've been doing that for over 30 years. And when we sell Mahinatiari in 23, we've already booked in 24 2 back-to-back 7-day training trips out of Oban, Scotland. We are totally in love with the West Coast, the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. It's where our families both are from. And so we're going to charter there just so that we can get out to St. Kilda, which is an now uninhabited, tiny little island that we've tried to get to for 20 years, but we've gotten closed out of it because of the weather. And so one way or another, we're going to get there. But we always do, what we do is we figure out where we want to go, and then we just make it an expedition. And fortunately, for 30 years, enough people have said, oh, cool, I want to go there. That sounds like a neat place. St. Kilda or the Isle of Skye. And so it's worked. It kind of amazes us that it has worked. But a lot of the people who joined us they fall into 2 categories. And so for the Scotland one, not many of the people will be planning on sailing their own boats there, but a lot of the people will have Scottish heritage or have been fascinated with those islands, so they'll come for that. But for instance, for our South Pacific expeditions, many of the people who join us are planning on sailing their own boat there, and they say, hey, it sure makes more sense before I go spend $100 grand on a boat to sail across the ocean and go to these islands that I'm dreaming about and see if the reality is as good as the dream. And so that's why they join us, and it's just like a huge immersion into reality. So sometimes they have their preconceptions of what they think it'll be like, and then they see the reality. It's like, wow, that's a lot harder than I thought. I think I'll keep sailing in Puget Sound and just charter in the
Well,
BVI.
that's okay too, though. I mean, that's okay to admit what you want to enjoy or not enjoy.
That's the fun thing about boating. There's many different ways of doing it, and there's no right way. You know, chartering is great. We enjoy that. It's great to sail there in your own boat, but there's some places that just aren't really convenient in terms of the amount of time and miles to get there in your own boat. So chartering works super.
I'm really intrigued that you're going to be going out with a Garcia 45. Can you talk about that boat a little bit? Tell our audience about it.
Well, it's kind of a dream. Jimmy Cornell, who's a famous Romanian sailor who wrote the book World Cruising Routes and who started the ARC, the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers, and who we've brought over from London several times to teach in our seminars, we've done co-presenting together. He wanted a boat to sail to Antarctica and sail through the Northwest Passage. And so he commissioned the design, and it's quite a radical twin rudder, lifting keel, unpainted aluminum boat, built in France, and it's fast. It draws only, I think, 1.5 feet or 2 feet of water. It has incredible visibility. If you look at the windows, when you're down below, it's like you're in a pilot house. It's like you're on a Nordhaven kind of.
Yeah.
So it has great visibility. It sails like a witch. And we were totally surprised. Lothar Taylor from San Juan Sailing, when we were coming to pick up the Jeanneau 45 for one of our expeditions, he said, I think I'm going to make your day. And we said, what's going on, Lothar? He said, do you know what a Garcia Exploration 45 is? And we said, yeah, sure. There's one for sale in Seattle, Arctic Monkey at Swiftshirt Yachts. And he said, one of our ex-owners, who used to have a Jeanneau in our charter fleet, just bought it and wants you to use it for your expeditions next year. And we just said, yeah, you're joking, right, Lothar? And he said, no, really, come and meet Greg. And Greg and Magda, the owners, are absolutely fabulous. They live in Bellingham. And so they bought kind of our dream boat for us to use. And they're also chartering it through San Juan Sailing. But it's an absolutely amazing vessel because it was set up for expeditions. It was set up for Jimmy Cornell to sail through the Northwest Passage with 7 other people. So it's perfectly set up for 8 people. It's the level of workmanship is stunning. It's kind of our dream boat.
Oh, I've been on one at the Annapolis Boat Show when he first launched it, and I agree with you. But I didn't know how it sailed, and you just answered that. And I trust Jimmy. Jimmy is very exacting, very careful about it, and I think he was only going to do this once, or this was going to be the ultimate, of a whole career of sailing the world. There it is.
Yeah, it's an incredible platform. We sailed the Jeanneau over summer, and then we stepped aboard the Garcia, and it's just solid, which is really nice.
It's like a ship.
You can run around the decks. You can just like stand in a place and nothing flexes, and she sort of picks up her skirt when you just get her on the wind, and she just heels over and just.
But it's stiff. She doesn't heel much. With a board down, with a center board down, she draws something like 10 feet, and it's like it's on rails. It's kind of a breakthrough in yacht design, and I think in the future, almost all sailboats will have twin rudders.
Twin rudders, wide sterns,
No, it sounds delightful, and I'm thrilled that you've extended your program, or I should say, they're extending that boat for your program. You're going to spoil a lot of people, though.
Well, Mark, about half the people, so we've just been inundated. We started out, we were going to do 5 expeditions this next summer. We've now stretched it to 9, and we'll sell out all 9 of those within the next month or so. It's just bizarre. Half the people joining us are joining us because they are thinking of buying or having a boat like this built, and they want to experience it, because there's nowhere in the world that you can charter a boat like this, a
Yeah.
lifting keel, twin rudder, modern, fast aluminum cruising boat.
Well, that's fantastic. It's going to be an incredible program, and what a great vessel.
What
So
are some of the
tell-
other what are some of the other technological breakthroughs that have been real game changers for you in the last 20, 30 years? Maybe top 5?
Well, communication, Inmarsat was the first. We put that on board when we were headed to Antarctica so we could get weather forecasting. But the real game changer was Iridium. And now the Iridium Go, which is just a tiny little hotspot, satellite hotspot, allows you to send and receive email from anywhere in the world for a flat rate of $139 a month, all you want. You can't surf the internet, but you can send unlimited data slowly that way.
I'd say Windy,
Yeah,
windy.com, just getting instant weather, and coastwise
Free.
you can pick it up.
anywhere in the world.
Norway, New Zealand,
Africa.
Australia. So you just study the weather patterns, you know when you can leave, because it's mainly the middle of the ocean, you're fine, but it's coastwise sailing, trying to get around the headlands, trying to get offshore, trying to make that break from land for us as ocean sailors. But having Windy has just, you can set your dinner menu to it, and that's been really nice. So you know when you can go and when you should stay put.
Well, do you still feel the need for a weather briefer on some of these large passages when you have these tools?
Funny thing you said that, Mark. The next thing I was going to add was weather routing. And so we first subscribed for weather routing when we were going from Cape Horn to Antarctica. We use it about probably in a normal offshore season, 2 or 3 times a season. It costs us $60 for a custom weather forecast, but it allows us to identify very, very small, precise weather windows. We've had multiple instances. For instance, we were in in Falmouth, England, Cornwall, getting ready to cross the English Channel and the Bay of Biscay all in one leap to get to the northwest corner of Spain, A Coruña. The British Met Service said it was the rainiest and the stormiest summer on record, and it didn't look like there was going to be any. The local forecast said there won't be any openings in the next 3 weeks, which is then too late to cross the Bay of Biscay. So we contacted Commander's Weather in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's just commandersweather.com. And we said, okay, our crew are coming on Monday and we're ready to go, but the forecast looks absolutely abysmal. All the other cruising boats have given up and are going to stay in wet, stormy Falmouth for the winter. And Commander said, okay, well, we'll get back to you tomorrow. They said, okay, if you leave on Tuesday at 10 in the morning, and if you can keep the pedal to the metal and the boat speed at 7 knots, you will cross the English Channel and you will be into deep enough water in the Bay of Biscay that you won't have breaking seas, because Bay of Biscay has a continental shelf where it goes from relatively shallow to really deep. And their forecast, so that was then for 4.5 days out. Their forecast was accurate to within an hour, 4.5 days out. And we managed to just squeak through. None of the other boats left, and they had a very wet winter. And we got to England, we got to Spain. Okay, it was a lively passage, but no, we didn't get pummeled in the Bay of Biscay like we knew.
So I'm sure we have a lot of people sitting at home tonight, hopefully with a hot toddy by the fireplace and going, I wonder what kind of seas John and Amanda actually have as their limits. What have you seen? Thrill us.
You don't want to know, Mark.
I do have a big seas picture. It actually made the calendar. I think I might have shown it already, though.
I think you did, and I was going to ask when you showed it, so it's worth showing again. But John, what kind of seas have you seen? I mean, what scares you, John?
Well, Mark, the first passage that Amanda and I did together from New Zealand, 2,500 miles to Tahiti, was in what became the most famous storm ever in the Pacific, called the Queen's Birthday Storm. The boat next to us was lost. 3 people died. 6 other boats were lost. and it was an out of season tropical storm. The hurricane season had been done for a month, but this was just an anomaly. And in that storm, we saw our knot meter only went to 60 knots, and it was pegged for quite a while. And we saw very large breaking seas. I'd never seen anything like this. And I was, Amanda and I had only met a week earlier. And I said, do you think we should heave too? Or the seas are huge. And they were hitting the stern of the boat and just washing right over the boat. We were going straight downwind with just a tiny storm jib up. The boat was going like a freight train. And Amanda said, no way, don't slow down. You just finally got this pig moving. And so we kept sailing fast downwind, and we didn't have any problem. And our crew didn't understand that they were having a blast. They had signed up for this leg for the heavy weather. And they didn't, it was just when we started to hear about the boats being lost and people missing that I actually turned off the single sideband radio then, because it was, there was nothing we could do to help. We were further east from where they were. The boats that were lost were headed from New Zealand to Tonga, and we were going from New Zealand to Tahiti. And so we were going out of the storm. Well, actually the storm was coming toward us, but
yeah, but that's back in the day before weather routing. So now you don't get caught out in those storms. You get that forecast a week
How
ahead.
low did the low go in that system?
oh,
You
into
remember?
the 970, something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Low.
That's a
Very.
pretty incredible documentary. Zoom Sales have just posted it on YouTube. And if you go to our Instagram and Facebook page, we've done a link to Zoom. Or if you type in Queen's Birthday Storm,
It's on our
yeah.
YouTube channel too.
it's not on our channel,
not
but
on?
no, Zoom
Oh,
Sales, you don't
Zoom-
understand. Yeah.
Oh, I don't understand.
No, so, but
But-
there's a link from our Facebook and Instagram page to the documentary of the Queen's Birthday Storm.
So TV New Zealand did an award-winning 90-minute documentary with a lot of video footage from aircraft and from rescue ships that is now available free, and it's absolutely it's a stunning learning experience just to see what the boats. So there were 60 to 80 boats, 60 boats, because it was part of a cruising rally. And so there are all kinds of boats, from homemade trimarans to homemade double enders to Admiral's Cup racing boats. And it was just fascinating to see. The storm ran right over the middle of all of them. And it was fascinating to see the boats that survived and had no damage, and then the boats that were lost and the people died. There were 2 books written about the storm that are still available. One is called Rescue in the Pacific, and the other is called Queen's Birthday Storm, The Boats That Survived and the Lessons Learned. So it was really a kind of a amazing case study, because there were such a broad range of different boats, all experiencing the same conditions.
Yeah.
And I'll put that
don't wanna-
that movie in the chat box. I just found it on YouTube, so I'll share that in the chat.
Oh, great. Thank
Oh,
you.
great. Thanks, Peter.
That's why I'm here, Niels.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I'll just put
I
it up.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
I so often get that question, when you talk about sailing across the Pacific, and yet friends of mine who've done it say, but there's so often that you have just pleasant weather, and you're not necessarily always going to get the monster seas.
Mark, the last time we had our storm sails out, other than for teaching, we think was how many years ago? 10?
At least 10.
Yeah, we think 10
we don't
years
have
ago.
any for our storm seminar at the boat show. We might as well cancel
Our
that.
pictures are really old.
And no one goes into storms.
Yeah.
If you are,
If you-
you're just.
If you've got any brains, that the tools are
Yeah.
so good in the forecasting, the quality of the forecasts have improved so much just in the last 5 years. That it's amazing. So we have many of our students circumnavigate the world, spend 2 to 5 years doing that. And they say the strongest consistent wind they ever had in the whole way around the world was 30 or 35 knots for 12 hours. And that's it.
And we get that in the San Juans if we're not careful.
Like 2 nights
like 2
ago.
nights ago, we thought our roof was going.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
What are
Yeah.
some of the biggest aha moments that your clients get when they're out with you? Is there a common thread?
Show this
No,
one.
I think surviving seasickness And some people don't, and it's a little disappointing that they're constantly got the bucket and just the motion, and they're like,
But that's pretty rare.
yeah,
Fortunately.
it's I think just knowing they can do it, it's like, right, I want to do this, I like it. Some people are really worried that they're not going to like being out there on the ocean. They've chartered and they've owned a boat, and they sort of get out there and they're like, is this really for me? And so there's nothing that actually clicks. I think maybe getting through some heavy weather, but some people are just happy to have a shower at the end of that. I think it's a sense of accomplishment, really, when you arrive in port and everything sort of, the learning culminates. You're sort of trying to stack so much information, the reefing and sail trim and learning and the systems, and it's all these pancakes, and finally you realize, okay, I can actually get my fork through all these layers and take a good bite, and I've got an understanding of what it is that I need to know.
It's
and
also
part of what you do is the lifestyle side, not just the cooking, but being able to live comfortably on a boat. And then the cooking and the meals you've done are just amazing.
Yes, and it's with help from a lot of crew though. So we're all in the same boat together. So everyone chips in and sort of decides, unless it's really heavy weather. But
yeah, I'd like to put a plug in for the chat. If you all have any questions out there, for our audience has any questions, please use the chat. We can get to those. For the seasickness piece, so if someone's crippled, is there really any sort of hope or lifeline that they can ameliorate the situation?
Peter, since we've had 1,100 people sail with us over the last 33 years, we've tried everything, and we've come up with a paper that we send to people, and you can actually link to it. If you could pull it up, it's just mahina.com/seasick.
Okay.
I think it's either seasick or seasickness, but we have a step-by-step program that we've developed with a lot of docs and reading a lot of research and just doing our own research with so many people aboard. And we say that if people follow those steps and use the tools and the drugs that we recommend, the chance of them being seasick at all or being seasick for longer than 12 hours is almost zero.
So we had a show on this about 2 months ago that our Harborview nurse, Annie Fireeisen, did, and she had a number of things. Now, one of the things that I presented, and I wonder if you know it works, I didn't bring them with me, my mistake, but I've got the goggles that Nigel Calder, you've seen them, yes. I actually wore them on this show. I looked pretty ridiculous.
Well, more ridiculous than normal, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. But they were great for laughs. John, I've never seen you laugh that hard. I assume they didn't work for you.
Well, we had an English/Australian doctor bring them on board. Everyone just laughed so hard. I don't know if they worked, but they were sure funny. He didn't get seasick anyway. I think he just brought it because he was kind of fascinated by them.
Well, we all are, and you know, somebody put a lot of work into this to create an artificial horizon. But Nigel swears it worked for his wife, and she gets bad seasickness. So if it worked, that's good.
Looking at Mark in those glasses made me seasick.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Still having nightmares.
Yeah. Well, we also learned in that show what HURL actually stands for.
What does it stand for?
Oh, I was afraid you'd ask. Let's see. Hydrate. I'll have to look it back up. We had it, Peter.
I never had it. I've
all right.
struggled with that for the last 26 weeks is what HURL stood for.
We couldn't come up with the acronym for BARF and what that stood for, but Annie had it all worked out as to what HURL stood for. Hydrate, drug, something.
Don't go.
Yeah. So anyway, we've addressed seasickness, and a lot of people were very, very interested in it.
Who are some of the writers that you like to read to give you inspiration? How do you get inspiration? Do you journal? Do you meditate?
John's the Energizer Bunny. He's enough inspiration. We
well-
don't. I don't read sailing stories. I'm living the
Yeah.
life.
We read, we write. For the last, well, since we were in Antarctica, we've done an expedition log update with images and links and weather information for everywhere we've sailed. And that's since 1996. And that is on mahina.com/ I think it's /expedition updates. But so we have,
Yeah, but that's not who we get our inspiration.
no, but
from.
we do that to inspire other people. And so they can
Right.
use that.
I think
we
we
don't get
just-
inspiration from anybody.
Nigel Calder, I think. If Nigel's going to do it, then we want to be one up on Nigel. Though
We love Nigel.
we give him a hard time. I think it's friends,
We teach
sailing
together.
friends.
Yeah, I think we've convinced Nigel to come on to the show here in a couple of months. So maybe
that-
we'll have you two come in as kind of, secret guests with Nigel. It'll be good for a
A
laugh.
surprise party.
We
Yeah.
have great fun teasing each other. When Nigel ordered his last boat, he ordered a bow thruster on it. And we gave him, in our classes, he teaches us, we teased him unmercifully, said, Nigel, you're getting sold, you have to have a bow thruster. And then we put one in.
Yeah.
After the fact, after 10
10
years of
years,
pushing the boat off docks and realizing if we're going to go to Europe, we definitely need to put in a bow thruster. After a couple of crunches, we're like, okay.
Well, and Nigel's also had a couple of crunches, and that's the funny thing. I love when he talks about cruising in the Caribbean and suddenly realizing that reefs grow, coral grows. So if you see on the charts, you've got 8 feet of depth and you draw 7 feet, that's too tight. And he learned that one the hard way. So
Well, Mark,
Yes.
we managed to sail our current boat 100,000 miles, which is the same as 4 times around the world, without running aground once. And then we ran aground at 6 knots into granite, 550 miles from the North Pole, with no chance of help. And it was pretty scary. Fortunately, I was the only one who got hurt. I was up on the bow. It's a long story, but I was up at the bow, slushing down the mud off the anchor. And there was a rock that was uncharted by 1/4 of a mile. Norwegian charts are incredibly accurate. So it was just totally shocking. And we documented it, pictures of the GPS, etc. But I split my chin open. I still have a scar here. When the boat went from 6 knots to 0 in about 30 feet, I just got propelled right over the bow, and I hit, I think, the anchor or the bow pulpit on the way over. I ended up in the water. The water was 33 degrees, and I was swimming, and I didn't want to lose my West Marine bucket because it was the only one we had. I swam back to the stern, and there was blood all over everything. And we tried, as you saw there, winching the boat over, we tried everything, and the only thing that got us off was high tide. And we thought, I was really concerned that we would have damaged the boat, because there's not many boats that you can run into granite at 6 knots. But we smushed an area the size of a basketball in the lead. It just looked like someone had gone like that,
yeah.
which we pounded out with sledgehammers and fared, and did absolutely no damage to the boat, other than 20 stitches in the chin.
So I have to ask you, and I appreciate you sharing that story. I mean, like Nigel's story, it's nice to know things happen to the two of you also. But okay, so where's your favorite? And I've read your articles over the years, I would guess it would be the South Pacific, but I'm gonna let you answer. Maybe it's Norway.
We have lots of favorites because we really like islands, and we were married in Fiji, and that's where we're supposed to be, is in Fiji. John's
I want Amanda to
desperately
show.
zooming around here.
I want her
All
to
right,
show you a
I'll
picture.
navigate.
Please show
Bear
me.
with us as we she's fiddled with the screen.
I've screwed it all up
The
now,
joys of
but
relationships. Here we go.
here we go. This is it.
There we are.
This is one of our favorite places. This is the island of Malolo in Fiji. It's a small island that was bought by 2 Australian yachties in 1962. And they built a little resort, which now has a marina, and it's fabulous. We got married on the beach here. Amanda's folks sailed up from New Zealand in their 35-foot Herreshoff gaff rig ketch for the wedding. And this is where we anchored after the wedding on a little sandbar. The visibility there is 150 feet. The water temperature is 84 degrees. And this is not Photoshop. There are that many fish. The people ashore are absolutely lovely. The minister wore a skirt. He wore a sulu. The service was all in Fijian. We haven't a clue what we agreed to.
We don't even know if we're married.
Maybe we're not. But Fiji is a fabulous place.
Yeah.
Oh, great. And how about now, you both are new to cruising up here. Do you have a favorite for our viewers in this area?
Well, I like to hike. So I think I like, is it Susha? I don't know. Anyway, there's a lighthouse. There's a few of those around.
Yeah.
We're spoiled because we live on San Juan Island. So I'm a little biased.
We live at Roche Harbor and we kayak
I got
every
to go
day.
to Orcas this summer. So
First time.
First time.
And we sailed to
I've been-
Lopez.
Yeah. But
First-
I didn't touch. Oh yeah, we did. We went to the store on
Yeah.
Lopez.
Lopez has got a cool, it's in the Wagner guide. Ding, ding, come on, Peter, ding, ring the bell.
No, you're allowed to say it all you want. I'm not.
I want to hear Peter ring the
Work
bell.
the logo in.
Well, we actually used the Wagner guide.
But we like all the stories. What's the other book we use though? That has more about the people and the places and
The other cruising guide?
the other cruising guide.
Oh, there's only one cruising guide.
Dry.
Well, the Dream Speaker has the
Yeah, we have
watercolor
that on
logo.
board. The fun thing about San Juan Sailing is they put all the cruising guides on all the charter boats. And so it's really nice to get more depth on the different places. But
Yeah.
you know, the one place that we're dying to get to, that we've gone by 3 times, but the 2 mooring buoys have always been
Peitos.
occupied, is Peitos Island.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
ever read the book called The Light on the Island, written by the 12-year-old daughter
Yes.
of the lighthouse keeper?
Yes.
Isn't that
Great book.
incredible?
Yeah.
I want to hike around that island where she grew up and where she talks about the smugglers
Yeah.
and the opium and all that. Have you been there, Mark?
I have. That and Meisha are 2 of my favorites. Meisha is like you described, where I have had to go by it so many times. And I got lucky this spring, early in the season, I went by Meisha and I couldn't believe it. There was only 1 boat there. And of course I had to go in and ended up spending the night and had a fabulous time.
Wow.
And the people that were there were fabulous. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And Peitos is fantastic. And I could see why you like it because of the lighthouse.
Yeah. Peter, can you find the name of?
He did.
Oh, you've got it.
Done, John.
Done.
You're way ahead of me. I don't
Actually,
have my glasses on, so I can't.
I
see
knew you were going to say that, so I already had it ready before you got on.
Are you serious? The Light on the Island.
That just creep you out there.
Can you imagine that a 12-year-old girl wrote that book? I think it's just.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, looking at the reviews of it, it's got 5 out of 5, 35 reviews. That's nice.
Oh, it's a classic. I don't know where she is today. She'd be interesting to have as a guest.
Yeah.
She's passed away.
Experiences.
Oh.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
would be about 120, Mark, if she
Yeah,
was.
way to
Yeah,
go, Mark.
true. That would be interesting.
Way to end on that note. Leave it to Bunzel. Gotta bring those
Yeah.
house lights down.
Well, the book is still in print. I've bought 5 copies of it on Amazon and given it to different boating friends around the Northwest because it's just for people
We
who really.
usually have it here in the Wagner store, not to put a plug in for that, but yeah. But yeah, it's a great book. And I'm glad you brought that one up.
Well, we wanted
What
to
else? We've got just another minute or 2 left. You two, now I'll throw in I'm throwing in plugs. You're going to be at the Seattle Boat Show. You're going to be Seattle Boat Show University doing a class on
Extended cruising. We haven't worked out all the details yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
A surprise.
And then we're doing 4 seminars at the regular Seattle Boat Show. Amanda's going to be doing Diesel Engine Essentials with Amanda, which goes with her new book. And we're going to be doing preparing for shorthanded sailing. We're going to be doing storm sailing
Not doing
tactics.
storms. I don't do anchoring.
I don't know if we're doing.
I'm doing a
anchor-
show during the show. Maybe you'll be on my show if your dance card isn't too full.
We haven't had any storms. We can't do
Oh,
storms.
it'll be old storms.
Okay.
You've seen one storm, you've seen them all.
We are actually slated to be on your program.
I think you are, yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to
Right.
be interviewing us.
So the
It'll be
middle
fun.
of December, all the information's going to come out for the Seattle Boat Show, the description of all the seminars, both the Seattle Boat Show University 2-hour seminars and the 45-minute seminars, and descriptions of that. And we'll have more information about that also. Our boat show director, Katie McPhail, is going to join us and talk about the show with Peter, and hopefully we can get George Harris to join us. It's going to be a very interesting experience, different. Seattle Boat Show Connect, because we'll all be online, but I'm getting excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. So we'll have more information as we go and how you can go to all these different seminars. And Nigel Calder will be presenting, as well as the two of you. Bruce Hedrick will be doing weather. He's going to be on this show in 2 or 3 weeks to talk about some of the new product coming out from the Weather Service and from NOAA. And very exciting to those of us that are weather geeks, of this information that's going to be available. So, and Amanda, you have a new book available.
I do have a new book that, thanks to COVID, I have.
Go ahead and ring the bell, Peter.
Well, I haven't heard the title yet.
The Essential Galley Companion, 2nd edition. So,
Sure.
oh, John wants me to show it. So I'm going
Yeah.
to go back to the sharing screen, and then I have to do a little hunt for it. Where is my book?
up there.
Coming up.
Oh, I love that photo. You can just put that one up anytime you want. That's why we boat.
All right, here we go. I have 2 books. So my engine coloring in book, if you're looking for a Christmas present, so diesel engine coloring in. So you can color in your 6 engine systems, but that's for Seattle Boat Show. And then here's my 2nd edition Galley Essentials, which has just been out and on Amazon and also as an ebook as well. So
And what recipe is the to die for recipe in there?
the to die for recipe is Moroccan chicken. So this
Ooh.
one here is-
Wow.
goes
You
well
get-
on the barbecue as a 1-pot dish. So there's some more veggies added to it over Christmas, and then you can plate it up and make it look all gourmet with salad and pita bread and everything else. So that's probably my favorite to die for recipe, Moroccan chicken.
It looks fantastic. I had dinner already, but I could try that.
There's nothing wrong with 2 dinners, Mark.
Yeah.
There's
Thank
no
you.
shame there. Encore.
Well, we're just about out of time, and this has been fun. You know, we like to make this fun on a Thursday night. We hope our viewers are sitting there, as I've said before, in front of their computer, hopefully their fireplace nearby, and a nice beverage, and just especially this time of year, dreaming about all the places they want to go boating and the different things they want to do. It's a fabulous lifestyle. And thank the 2 of you. And we'll plug one more thing. You're going to be doing a cruising seminar, possibly in Anacortes in April, 2-day. And if we're tied up with COVID regulation, it may be online, but that is part of the Skagit Valley College Cruisers College program that the
Cool.
Wagner Guide puts on. Go ahead, Peter, you can ring the bell. Yeah, and but we're really excited to have John and Amanda doing that. So we'll have an article on our website about that, more information coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Mark, have we said hello to our friends at the Grosbeck Realty Group?
We did, I remember.
Okay, good.
We
good,
also,
good.
Peter, have another sponsor that I
Wow.
threw in there.
Yeah.
It's the Wagner Cruising Guide 2021 edition.
Break the bell. Very
They,
good.
they were actually paying to have their name mentioned on the show.
Wow.
So yeah.
It's a good
yeah.
group.
So
Well, cool.
anyway,
What's on store for next week?
next week, Thanksgiving, we get the night off.
Oh, wow.
No show next
No
Thursday
show.
night. Sorry.
I stare at my
We'll be,
monitor for an hour.
I'll be with my abbreviated family, and my son has promised he's going to smoke a turkey, but he's going to squash the turkey first. Amanda, do you know anything about this?
No, I'm a Kiwi, matey. It's
They don't do Thanksgiving.
Don't look at me.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
You don't know turkey. I don't think we got turkeys. No.
We
Well, I'll
actually had
have to talk about it the week following that of what our smoked turkey is like, and then our after Thanksgiving dinner. My adult children said, "Let's have a Northwest dinner."
Oh,
So
great.
after Thanksgiving, it'll be Northwest. So I'm gonna grill up a
That
salmon.
same day?
What's that?
Like that same day?
No.
Oh,
We
okay.
do
That'd be a
this- we
feat.
do
That
this
would
on
be.
Friday.
You
We
love
do this on
Thanksgiving.
And
Right on.
and we'll have salmon, and I think I'm going to do a rum with blueberry sauce for it. And everything goes better with rum. I know that. And so I'll have to report in about how that works, or maybe my family will come in on the chat line with a review. So we'll
That'd
have
be
to see. How
excellent.
about you, Peter?
Yeah, standard Thanksgiving over in Bremerton with my in-laws, and it's a standard fare for sure. So yeah, looking forward to that. I'll miss you, Mark. Of course, you know that though. I don't need to
Oh
say
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I don't need to say
Save me
that.
some leftovers.
You betcha. Happy National Monopoly Playing Day to you and yours.
Monopoly playing.
Yeah, are you big board game players on your when you go around the world?
I'm not a big game.
Not a big
My
gamer?
family is very critical that I'm not a game player.
Yeah.
And the trouble is when I do play games, I play with one objective. I play to win.
To win, to
And
cheat.
yeah, and they play to have fun. And so
Well,
not
this
very-
this famous political website that dorks like me like to look at called 538.com, they do other ratings as well, and they rated some of the board games that we know and love, and they actually were talking about how boring Monopoly, Candyland, Snakes and Ladders are.
I wouldn't call them boring, but okay.
Well, this is a survey result. I'll put it in the chat, and they find that there's those games that have the most luck are just not that. They're lacking skill. That's where the juice is. And so they actually have a list of the top rated games that they're recommending that people have voted in to play. So if you're looking for a good Christmas gift, I'm not dropping any hints there, Mark. Don't worry.
All right.
Unless
I
you
hear you.
insist. But yeah, this is a fun one. It's so nice to meet you, Niels. This is episode 26 for us. And I'm looking
And
forward
we're
to
still on the
reconnecting.
air. They haven't cut us off yet.
Yeah, exactly. The Saturday Night Live's episode, season 2, episode 2, which would be the same with correlation, would be Norman Lear.
Wow.
Still alive, 98 years young.
And who was the musical guest?
Boz Scaggs.
Yes.
Oh, you
straight
knew
from
that.
San
I didn't need to
Francisco.
tell you that.
Yeah.
This would have been 1975, I suppose. So, well, on that note, unless you all have any other parting words, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks
for watching.
joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night.
Good
Thank you for
night.
having us. Namaste.
For
Happy
sure.
Thanksgiving.
Good night.
Good night.